Hi, in this tutorial I will show you some new items of the languages, new block, new property, new function and so on. All this through a typical need of an application, that is enable of masks and relay. In fact, what is the problem or the need of this project? Just imagine to install this project in a unit to sell in Siberia or Alaska. In that unit, probably the cooling device is not installed. But even if the cooling device is not installed, the user can enter in this mask and see information regarding a device that is not installed, as well as the relay number 1 is busy even if the device is not installed. So in this the target of this exercise is create a configuration mask where to set two new variables representing the enable of cooling devices and heating devices, and use them to enable these two masks. Enable means hide somehow the two masks, and enable the two relay number 1 and relay number 2. Well, the first step of the exercise is create the variables representing the enable. We have already seen how to create the variables using the V button. We can use another way, that is here in the variable list. You can right click. If you don't see the add menu, probably there is a filter here, so remove the filter, click add new variable. I will call the variables enable cooling. I will put it in the permanent memory, so in case of blackout I won't lose the value. Boolean is good because we need only of two values, 0, 1 for on and off. Probably more than off, on is disabled and enabled. Okay, default values I will use 1, so for default it is enabled. Units doesn't matter. Field access input output, so we can modify it in the mask. Okay, this is the first. Okay, let's filter for by user variable. I will copy, paste it. The second is enable heating, and description enable of heating devices. Permanent, boolean, default 1, and so on. All other are already corrected. Well, now we have the two new variables. Next step, we have to create the mask where to modify them. I will create a new mask in a new loop. So we will have one loop, another loop, and then we create a third loop. So if you remember, I have to drop the mask not over an existing object of in the page, but in an empty space. So I will drop there. Let's move it beside the other as usual. Let's change the name like in the previous exercise. I will call the loop configuration. Good name for the mask is configuration. Okay, and then place the two parameters. I will place a description. Okay, cooling enable probably is an unusual way to describe a parameter. But you will see in the next or second next exercise why I used this way. Okay. Now I will duplicate this text using a standard editing feature. So select, Control, Move, okay, to duplicate, and then change. Well, cooling enable and heating enable, perfect. Now we can place the variables. If you remember, there are two ways to place fields. The first is use or drag and drop the field object. Select the variable, enable cooling, format, that's good. The other way is drag and drop the variable from the variable list to the mask. So I will filter by enable, drag and drop. So if you remember, the advantage is that the name is already defined, the format, like before, is already defined, so you have just to press OK. Well, now we have the loop with the mask, good name for both. We have the configuration parameter and description in the mask. What is missing is the way to enter in this mask. So far we use, to enter the other loops, we used ESC and PRG keys. As told you in the previous exercise, we can't continue to use single keys, even because the only unused key is the alarm key, but it is used for other purpose. So in this case we can use not a single key like ESC and PRG, but a key combination. For example, we can use enter and PRG together. Well, you know that this list contains the name of the key that exists in this project. Okay, I tell you that in this list there isn't the key corresponding the enter PRG. There are other key combinations like menu set, menu main, maybe others, but are for other type of terminals. So if a key combination is not already created, we have to create it. How and where? Is here in the terminal editor. So you have to show the key list, this one. If you don't see this list, probably you have click, no, probably for sure you have click this button. Attention that probably you notice that if you click the background, okay, the mask disappears, but the key list is still available. Well, click the right button in this list, click add, new key combination, and here is the list of all the single keys. The single keys, not only of this terminal, which has only 6 keys, but the single keys of all terminals used in any layout. Anyway, we have to create the enter and PRG. Doesn't matter if you click enter and PRG or PRG enter, is the same. The default name is the name of the 2 single keys we have clicked. I like that name, so I will leave it. Description is optional, but I will define it. Enter the configuration loop. Okay, starting from now, there is no difference compared to the previous exercises. So if you remember, click the background in order to see here global. remind you that if you don't see global, don't continue. You must click somewhere here in the background. And then select the key. Here is enter PRG, here is. And then write the code. Control space GO and then arrows to select the statement, enter, open, control space L, enter, dot, arrows, configuration, enter, close, semicolon. Okay, if you notice that they are always the same keys, control space, type the letters, arrows, enter, dot, and so on. Well, that's all for the first step, the first of 3 steps of this exercise. We can have a quick test. Well, start simulation. Now the question is how to press contemporary the enter and PRG keys. Okay, you can't because we don't have 2 mice. The only way to simulate the pressure of 2 keys is to click the corresponding name here in the key list. In this list, the new names are at the end, so we scroll till the end. Here is, and then click. Cool enable, heat enable, enter, up and down to change from 0 to 1, 0, 1, enter, 0, 1, 0, 1. To change easily and faster the variable, we can also place them in a watch. 1, 0. Okay. Well, this is the end of the step number 1. The second step is the enable of the cooling and heating masks according to this and this variable. So how to do this? We have to go back in editing. We have to click the mask. As usual, when you click in general an object, the property windows shows the property of that object. There is a property of the mask that is enable on, that is for our need. So in the enable mask, we have to write the variable or variables that enable the mask. That you can write it manually here. If you prefer, you can click the browse button. It appears a support window like this, and here you can add the variables. So example, if here you specify EN cooling, finish. So when this variable is, the value of the variable is 1, the mask is enabled, so that the user can enter in this mask, as so far. While when this variable is 0, the mask is disabled, and so the user can't enter in this mask, as it was not present in the application. In this list, you can specify more than 1 variables. In this case, when the value of all variables are 1, the mask is enabled, else it is disabled. Okay, I will repeat for the heating mask. So click heating, enable on, browse, add, filter for enable heating, double click, that variable is enough, and so finish. Okay, this is the second step. Let's have a quick look, quick test. So simulation, start. Well, let's try the 4 possible conditions. that is like so far both devices enabled. Second case only the first, third case only the second, the fourth case is both disabled. Doesn't make sense, but we can try it. Okay, as we can see here, now both devices are enabled, so we expect that that we can enter in this mask and also this mask. So ask, we are here, okay, key down, cooling status. So this is the evidence that this mask is enabled because we are inside it. Key down, heating, so we are here, so we can see that the two masks are enabled. Very good. Second case. In the second case, we leave enable only the heating. So we expect that heating is visible, while cooling, no. Then mask is enabled because we didn't use the enable property, the enable on property. Okay, let's try. Ask room, we are in this mask, down. In fact, when we press the key down, the system has tried to enter in this mask, but since it is disabled, it enters in the next mask, that is this. So the go to next and go to previous mask statements shows the next or previous mask of the loop that is enabled. So it tried with this, since it was disabled, enter here. And so you can see that there are only those two masks enabled. Okay, now try the third case, cooling enabled, heating disabled. So we expect to be able to enter in this, that is always enabled, and cooling, because it is enabled. Room and cooling, room and cooling. As you can see, the heating mask is disabled, so we can't enter. Last case, okay, we can change it from here. 0, 0 means that both masks are disabled, so we expect what? To be able to enter only in this mask. In fact, if you click key down or key up, okay, seems that nothing happened, but in the reality, what happened? When I press key down, from here it tried to enter in this mask, but since it is disabled, it tried to enter in this mask, but since it is disabled, it tried with the next mask, that is itself, and so enter in it. Okay, in a real application, doesn't make sense to have a unit for with one cooling and one heating stage without any of both. Anyway, it's just for testing is good. In the next exercises, we will see a template project and also maybe a real application, and you will see that in a real application the enable on property is one of the most used property. Well, so now you know how to enable and disable the masks. That's all for the second step of this long exercise. The third part of the exercise regards the strategy. The third part regards the relay. So now we have to enable the relay number 1 and the relay number 2 according to the variables that enable the devices. So first of all, I will place, okay, you can see that there is another way to place variables, drag and drop from the variable list. So we have to enable the relay number 1 not according, but also according to enable cooling. That is, the relay number 1 can be switched on, or can switch on, or in general the cooling can be switched on according to two conditions, not only one, but two conditions, according to the temperature and the enable of the device. And the same here. Relay number 2 can start according to the temperature and or the value of the temperature and the enable of the heating. Now, before to forget, I have to. If you remember, this was the typical mistake I showed you in some exercise ago. So, how is possible to enable a relay? The easiest way to do this is to use a new block. It is an atom block. The name is end. End is one of the most simple block. As you can see, the truth table in the user manual, in the end, the output is 1 only when all inputs, in this case the two inputs, have the value 1. So the out is 1 when input in 1 is 1 and in 2 is 1. Okay. So where to place this block? Let's say, of course, is around this place. So I will click the connection, control, click the red square. I show you this in the previous exercise. This here. And the same. Delete, select, control, move, connect here, connect here. Well, this is the solution. Let me align the two blocks. Okay. So how can we read this project? The value of this variable, that is cooling, is 1 when this is 1, that is according to the temperature value, and this is 1, that is according to the enable of the cooling, the variable representing the enable of the cooling. The same here, heating is 1, so the relay is on, when this is 1, that is the temperature is low, and the heating is enabled. Okay, for the strategy, that's all, also for the third exercise. So we can simulate. Let me modify the toolbar. Okay, so simulation. Okay, let's install the default value. So we start from a normal condition. Start. Well, set point 20 degree, cooling, heating are enabled, so the project should work like the third exercise. So temperature is low, relay is on. We can enter in the mask, as you can see, it shows heating 1. So far, perfect. So increase till 23. Cooling relay is on, cooling status is on, so far perfect. Now I disable the cooling, and you can see that if we when we disable the cooling, the relay is forced off. Even if the temperature is high, the relay is forced off. And we have already seen that also the mask is hidden. Okay, I will try also the heating. Temperature very low. The heating is on. Heating is on because the heating is enabled, because the temperature is low, and the enable is enabled. The heating is enabled. Now I try to force to set the enable heating 0. In fact, the heating relay is forced off. As we have seen before, also the mask is hidden. Well, you can see that now it's becoming, let's say, a little bit more complicated to test the software, because the two relay switch on not according to only one condition, but according to two conditions. So if the temperature, if the relay is off and you expect to be on, we have to check more conditions. But later we will have an exercise, some more practice about this. Just to the end, I want to tell you that in a real application, the output, for example, the compressor, the pump, the fan, and so on, normally are enabled by a lot of conditions. The compressor, for example, are enabled by the temperature regulation, of course, the alarms, high pressure pressure start, low pressure pressure start, overload, and so on, by the scheduler, by the timing, for example, and a lot of other things. So in a real application, you have not a end with 2 inputs, but with 3, 4, 5, 10, maybe also more inputs. Anyway, this is the last part of the third part of this exercise. And so that's all for this very long exercise, and thank you for watching this tutorial.